That's right. Spring has sprung, and we are just about to the finish line. It is the ultimate weekend of the spring sports season here in the great state of Idaho. State championships abound in golf and tennis and track and field and softball and, of course, baseball. And a time-honored tradition is IdahoSports.com broadcasting every pitch of every Idaho State baseball tournament from 5A all the way down to 1A, completely live, completely free, right here on IdahoSports.com. And so we have to set the table before we can enjoy this delicious feast. It is our IdahoSports.com 2024 State Baseball Tournament Preview Special. Over the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to break down the brackets, give you the key matchups, the players to watch, and make our championship picks. Oh, it's going to be such a great time. We are coming to you live tonight on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram account, also live on our site, IdahoSports.com. If you're not on social media, you can also tune in via the game streams tab at the top of the homepage. We, of course, will have this on replay as well. So you can watch this really anytime between now and the start of the state baseball tournaments, or even you want to circle back once it's all said and done and see what predictions we got right or wrong, you're certainly free to do that as well. All right, that's enough talking from me. My name is Brandon Bainey, but it is time to bring on our esteemed broadcasters that will be calling the pitches, the balls and strikes all weekend long on IdahoSports.com. And we are starting our state tournament preview special with the 1A classification. Let's bring in Gary Jones, our most seasoned broadcaster here on IdahoSports.com. Gary will be broadcasting the 1A State Baseball Tournament from Capitol High School in Boise, along with Zach White. Gary, hello, welcome in.
Nice to be here, Brandon.
It's good to see you as always. You were a baseball coach previously in your life at New Plymouth High School. You are one of the few panelists here at IdahoSports.com that's actually, delivered and won a state championship, Gary.
I got the ring right here, buddy.
Looking great as always. That was in 1994 at New Plymouth, right?
I beat the Homedale Trojans for the fourth time, 7-5, and under their great coach, Dan Tristan. I told him at the end of the game, beating him 4 times in 1 year was the hardest thing I ever did in coaching.
Yes. Well, we certainly have some baseball dynasties in the 1A classification, and all my 1A fans that are tuning and watching, whether you're up in the White Pine League or you're down south in districts 3 and 4, I want to hear from you, the fans. We are taking your shout outs and your questions live tonight. So if there's a team or a player or a coach you want to give a shout out to, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen, Gary, but let's get to it. Here is the 1A state baseball bracket. Games at Capitol High School. And this is, it's a 2-district affair, right? There's District 2 up north, the White Pine League, and there's District 3 down south, the Western Idaho Conference. So this is a pretty easy one. They take 4 from each league, and it's the first place finisher from the district tournament up north versus the 4th place finisher from District 3. And then the 2s will play the 3s. So Kendrick won the district tournament and are the North number 1 seed. They will take on Idaho City, the 4th place finisher from District 3. Then we'll have 2 from the South, Lighthouse Christian, take on 3 from the North, Clearwater Valley. Glens Ferry, the 1 seed from the South, they'll take on Potlatch, the 4th place finisher up north. And then in the final game, Troy, the 2-time defending state 1A champs, Gary, will take on Vision Charter, the number 3 seed from the South. Right away, when you see this bracket, Gary, what jumps out to you?
The first thing I always look for is how similar is it to last year's? How many people are coming back with experience? And boy, are there some similarities. Troy won last year. They were champs. Idaho City's back. Clearwater Valley came in second. They're back. Vision Charter was Constellation champ. They're back. Glens Ferry and Potlatch are back. So 6 of the 8 are returning with experience, and that, of course, is huge. Our 2 newbies are Kendrick and Lighthouse Christian. Well, I almost predicted something. I'll wait till you ask me my predictions later.
Okay, now you said newbies. Kendrick is new in terms of, they weren't at state last year. They're certainly not new to getting to state and winning at state, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s. Kendrick baseball was a powerhouse. The other The other newbie, though, Gary, Lighthouse Christian. It's only their second year of baseball at the school. And so when you're a new program, you're always making historical marks. This is the first trip to the state baseball tournament in Lighthouse Christian history. How cool is that?
Yeah, and I was looking up how many some of these teams won. You gave me a good thing from 1998 on. Kendrick has 6 state titles, but they have more than that because I ran a state tournament in the early 90s that they won at TVCC. So one of the things I first do when I go to the coaches, because on basketball and football, you can look all this stuff up. On baseball, you can't. So I try to get how many championships have you won? Troy's going for the three-peat. I'd like to know, Kendrick I know has at least 7. And then Potlatch, since 1998, has won 6.
Yeah, and the big storyline, and yes, Gary, last year I did the 1A state baseball tournament and started doing research, and I went all the way back to 1998 and got all the results from then until now and compiled it all, so I had the historical reference, and I will reveal why right after we get to our first couple of comments here. Here's Mary Lou Taylor. She says, "Go Tigers." Go Kendrick, right? Here's Jesse. She says, "Go Vision Charter School." Yes, Vision Charter making their second straight trip to state. They got to state for the first time in school history last year, along with Idaho City. And they both not only got to state for the first time last year, but they both picked up their first wins at state in school history and then played each other in the consolation final on Saturday. And then here's a tongue-in-cheek one from Robert. 1A fans are not tuned in. They are too busy churning butter. All right, Robert. We'll see. Hey, my 1A fans are coming. Here's Douglas Silflo. Go Tigers. Of course, the Silflo name, a pretty popular one down there in Kendrick. But Gary, the reason I went back to 1998 for my historical research for the 1A state baseball tournament, and that, as a reminder, we are working on an IdahoSports.com record book and an almanac, and we will eventually have all of those results for it's ridiculous that you can't go find that anywhere. We're gonna make that source for you. It's a long process, but that will be coming. But the reason I went back to 1998 was that was the last time a team from the South won the state championship, Gary. It was Greenleaf Friends back in 1998. And since then, it has been just an endless parade of North dominance. I mean, a lot of times it's an all-North championship. Occasionally you'll get a South team that gets into the finals. But, I mean, bigger picture, 2 years in a row, Gary, the North has swept the South in the opening round. It's been all-North semifinals the last 2 years. Will that happen again this year?
I'll tell you why that surprises me. And it's not because I don't think the teams in the North are good, because they obviously are. But when you can start practicing in February at New Plymouth, say, or Homedale or around this Southwest Idaho, they're not practicing up there because they got so much more snow, cold temperatures and stuff. So I always thought Southwest Idaho, that section of the state, is favorable for spring sports simply because of the weather and you can practice better. So when you first told me that, I was flabbergasted that nobody from Southwest Idaho has won in that many years. Boy, it just shows you those athletes up north have been fantastic in spite of the fact they get on practice fields late sometimes.
And it's a gauntlet to get through that regular season. I think a lot of years people would argue, probably even the 5th and 6th place finishers in the White Pine League are deserving of at least a conversation of having a spot at state. It was no different this year. Kendrick, Potlatch, Troy, all kind of beat up on each other, Gary. They all finished pretty much tied at the top of the standings. Kendrick and Potlatch each went 12-2 in the White Pine League. Troy was 11-3, but look at the overall records. Kendrick 15-7, Potlatch 15-7, Troy 15-5, and Clearwater Valley even, they went 13-13, 8-6 in the conference. They were just the most hard luck team there was. There were walk-offs. Potlatch walked off against Clearwater Valley. They walked off against Troy in like 12 innings. Troy walked off against CV. Kendrick walked off against Troy. It was just nonstop drama from these top 4 teams all season long. It was so fun to watch.
And I think spring sports might be a little bit more upset bound because it's all about pitching. Your pitcher has a good day, you're going to win. Your pitcher has a bad day, because even Clayton Kershaws of the world have bad days, and so you're relying on your pitching to be very good. And those guys are just, when they come to state, the North, they're just spot on for whatever reason.
Yep. So making a prediction is hard. I do favor the North over the South, Gary. Let's take a look at the bracket again here. Do you see a team from Southern Idaho that is capable of winning in the first round and ending this first round slide for the South?
Yeah, Glens Ferry. I talked to the Glens Ferry coach, and we beat New Plymouth has won 3 championships. I won the first one. We beat Glens Ferry for 1. I can't remember if it was either Derek Kovic was our coach or Darren Gray. And Glens Ferry was a state all the time. And I said to their coach, well, how many state championships do you guys have? Because you must have a lot. He said, we don't have any. And I was shocked. I was like, what? Glens Ferry has not. And they have, if you've ever seen their facility, they have one of the best baseball fields in the state of Idaho. And they're a little school. It's right by the freeway when you go by Glens Ferry. You can't miss it. Fantastic facility. And for them to have never won state as many times they've been there, I was flabbergasted by that as well.
Yeah, so many years Glens Ferry was a 2A school, and they were getting to state, and they were competitive, and they haven't been 1A that long, but yet they have not been able to break through. Here's Frank Case, Gary. He is the head softball coach at Glens Ferry. Now, I'll tell you, those Lady Pilots have a great chance of bringing home the 1A championship in softball. I do think their baseball counterparts are going to have a more difficult time, only because I'm not sure how battle-tested they are. It's not a diss on the Southern Idaho Conference, but this was a league that towards the bottom was in shambles this year, Gary. When you look at the 4 teams that didn't make state, Rimrock, Gem State, Garden Valley, Wilder, I mean, it was a slew of forfeits, a slew of games that couldn't be played. And so I just wonder if Southern Idaho, whereas in the White Pine League, even the 5th and 6th place teams, Genesee and Prairie, were very tough outs all year long. So I just am wondering if Glens Ferry is battle tested enough, and if they've been in enough tight games, because I mean, you look at the differentials. I don't know if they've been challenged enough, Gary.
Well, they beat Lighthouse for the championship, and Lighthouse in our power rankings on IdahoSports.com, Lighthouse is number 1, which I always love the power rankings because it drives fans crazy, but it's just an algorithm that was built. You know, if you beat a good team, you get good points. If you lose to a good team, it's not as bad. You lose to a bad team, that's not good for your points. And Lighthouse is tied for 3rd in the coaches poll. So they beat a quality opponent in Lighthouse. But, you know, the thing when I went to state, those years I was able to go to state, I would always tell my kids one thing for a pep talk. The best team may or may not win this state. If the best team from your 20 games leading up to it, it's a team that plays the best in 3 straight games. If you can put together a winning streak of 3 against good teams, you are a state champion. And like when I won state in '94, we were 14-10 going in overall when we were done. So we didn't have a great record, but we won 3 at state and 1. And we were 14-10 because I always played up. When I got a non-league team, I played up and played harder to schools because I wanted to test my kids. One of the reasons you can throw records out, you know, in terms of like, who did they play to have this great record? Did they play, you know, soft teams, or did they play really good teams?
It's going to be interesting to see. And that's what makes Troy so tough, Gary, because they're the 2-time defending champs. They have 3 pitchers that they can lean on and feel pretty comfortable no matter what order they pitch in. It starts with Dom Holden, the junior. He's got an ERA of 101. Joseph Bendel, the senior, an ERA of 163. And then Eli Stoner, the big lefty, the senior, a 258 ERA. Those 3, it's a formidable 3. The other teams up north all have aces, you know, Landon Schleeper for Clearwater Valley. Kendrick has Ty Kep, and Potlatch has Jackson Vowels. And some of those teams even have a second great pitcher, but I don't know 1, 2, 3 if anybody can line it up like Troy. So if you're going to beat Troy, you're going to have to steal. You're going to have to steal or manufacture some runs somewhere, because that pitching staff just isn't going to allow much, Gary.
And I'll tell you what keeps coaches up in baseball at night. You can't sleep at 3 a.m. What's your pitching order? Because when I was coaching, district was single elimination. They don't do that anymore. But back in the 90s, you lost one and you were done. So do you put your best, now when you're at state, do you put your best pitcher game one? Do you try to save him for game 2 or 3? You don't. If you save him and lose your first game, you're saving him for the consolation bracket. So I think I almost had an ulcer when I was a coach. One of the reasons I retired, because I was tired of the stress from coaching. Now, I didn't stress out in teaching. It was easy for me. Coaching, we're at one of my establishments once. Everybody was talking about the hardest job they ever had. People were going loggers. They were, mechanics. Hardest job they ever had. They said, "What was yours?" I said, "Being a varsity baseball coach." They all laughed at me. And I said, "Well, you just said hard. You didn't say physically or mentally. When you're a coach, you put your heart and soul into a program, and you want to win for yourself and the kids and the school and the community. There's a lot of pressure on you." And after 13 years and I had won, I didn't need 2, I didn't need 3, I didn't need 4. I got 1 and I was happy as a clam in mud. And so there's a lot of pressure on these coaches. And I admire coaches that go 30 years. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Troy lines up the pitching. And one thing all of those pitchers told me at last year's state tournament is really it's the guy behind the plate calling the game, Makai Durrett. So that's kind of the X factor there for Troy.
I had one. I just interrupt real quick. I had Troy 2 years ago. I had the 1A 2 years ago, Capital. And Troy, I remember the fans telling me that was their first state championship. And they're on a roll. Their first state champion, they get their second. And the three-peat with the pitchers with the ERA you have, they look like the favorite.
Yep. Until somebody beats them, right? For sure. And so let's see. We've got a comment from Instagram. Landon Schleeper from Clearwater Valley. What about Clearwater Valley's pitching staff? Yes, because they've got Schleeper and Trevor Altman, who's a good pitcher. Now, when you look at the ERAs, they're both in the 4s, a little higher than Troy. But I think Clearwater Valley, the question is, can they get to that third game? Because they had so many tight games this year. They're battle tested for sure. But with Schleeper and Altman, you feel pretty good about those two guys. And Schleeper at the top, especially big, tall, strong kid. Grangeville High School Sports on Instagram says Schleeper is a dog, Gary, DAWG. So we'll see if we can get it going there. Here's Anna Vote Vowels, one of our favorite Potlatch Logger fans. Go Loggers, number 20 is my favorite pitcher. That's her son, Jackson Vowels. And that parlays nicely into our 1A players to watch here, Gary. We picked one player from every team. Most of these guys pitch and hit because it's 1A baseball. And if they're not pitching, they're playing in the field somewhere. And this is not the end all be all list by any means, just a jumping off point to get the conversation started. But here's who we chose. From Clearwater Valley, Landon Schleeper, who just left a comment on Instagram. From Glens Ferry, Jesus Ortiz, they call him Chewy. He's a great pitcher for the Pilots as well. Dax Alvera from Idaho City, big, strong power bat, good pitcher too. Ty Kep from Kendrick, his great 4-year, 3-sport career, football, basketball, baseball, is coming to a close. It's going to be tough to see Kendrick and not have Ty Kep be part of it. Justice Schrader from Lighthouse Christian, Gary. He actually played his freshman year at Glens Ferry, and then he and his family moved to Twin Falls. He's been a Lighthouse Christian Lion ever since. Great quarterback, can really spin the ball. Jackson Vowels from Potlatch, great pitcher on the mound. Dom Holden from Troy, we talked about, and then Lakin Wilson from Vision Charter. I did want to give a special shout out to the Vision Charter Eagles, Gary. They have stolen 292 bases this season, and it's Wilson at the top. Lakin Wilson and Peyton Williams have each swiped 40 plus bags this year, Gary.
Man, so here's what I'm going to watch for. I'm actually going to pick 2 if I can. I'm cheating.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
First of all, I've done the 1A D2 in basketball for the last, 4 or 5 years. And Kendrick has been there almost every year. They won last year. They came in second this year in the state championship game, lost. And I always admired watching Ty Kep play basketball as a guard. He was really, really a talented, coordinated kid, and as almost a quarterback of that team as a guard. He's a very intelligent kid. I want to see how well he plays baseball. I envision him in my mind as like a second baseman. I don't know what position he plays, but I'm thinking he's an infielder, maybe shortstop. I don't know. For some reason, I would put him at second base. But the other guy was interesting. When you gave me the list of players, I looked up all their batting averages. And Lakin Wilson, I think I was correct on this. He is batting 500 on the season. Now that's to get a hit every other time against good baseball pitchers. That is hard to do. You know, the hard thing about hitting, it's a round ball and it's a round bat and you have to hit it squarely. And Lakin Wilson is doing that. So can he take that 500 batting average into state and do damage with it?
Yeah. And can they get on the bases? Because once they do, you know, they're running and gunning. So it'll be interesting to see. One last comment here. Another player to watch from Kendrick, a name you probably recognize from 1A D2 state basketball for Deary. Go Tigers. Number 22, Tucker Ashmead. That is from Christine Ashmead. Deary co-ops with Kendrick for baseball. So rivals come together on the diamond. Pretty cool. So,
oh, that's interesting.
Yep. So Tucker Ashmead.
Story at Vision Charter. I was talking to Vision Charter AD, and he went through almost the whole conversation. At the end, he goes, "By the way, you taught me in science." I was like, "What?" I taught you and said Billy Lamatinas. I don't know if he's on there. Billy, I'm shouting him out. He was a good basketball player in the Plymouth, great kid. He's now the AD girls basketball coach and counselor at Vision Charter.
Yes. And one last shout out here from Jesse Tobias. Shout out to Lakin and both of the Williams brothers from Vision Charter. They got their first win ever in school history at state last year. Now we'll see if they can do it in the first round and get to the semis. And here's Alfred Marshall. The Marshalls are going to be there from Potlatch. Yes, Jay and Waylon Marshall, the Marshall brothers. I got to meet their mother last year, Gary. She was up in the press box working as part of the official tournament staff. And so I was pretty much sitting right next to her the whole time and got to meet both Jay and Waylon. They would come up between games, and we had a great time last year in Lewiston. You're going to have a great time this year in Capital. This tournament, Gary, starts Wednesday. That's why we're doing the preview show tonight. So all the 1A fans had an extra day to digest this preview. It's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The only state baseball tournament that starts a day early. And so rest up, Gary. You've got a long couple of days ahead of you.
And it's a great facility. You know, when you go to state, you want to feel special. You want to be at a nice stadium that makes you think, my goodness, you look around. And Capital is fantastic. Great facilities, not only for the kids, it's a great press box that looks down on the field. So I was really excited when you gave me the 1As again. I love going to Capital High School. It's one of my favorite high schools to announce from because they have tremendous facilities.
Yes. One last shout out here. Megan Ferguson. Don't forget to watch number 3, Tell Jewel, pitch for the Idaho City Wildcats. And maybe my favorite name of the entire tournament plays for Idaho City too. Trey Martini. Shaken, not stirred, Gary. Yeah. Idaho City was totally fun to watch last year too. Their baseball coach, Brian Hunnicky, is also the superintendent. So he's a busy guy.
Yes. You don't see a lot of superintendents coaching, but he is.
Yep, for sure. And then here's Alan Macias. Don't forget about Glenn's Ferry. Yes, the Pilots. If any team's going to do it from the South, they definitely have the best chance there in the opening round. All right. Thank you for tuning into our 1A state baseball preview. This tournament gets underway at Capitol High starting Wednesday on IdahoSports.com.
Wait,
live.
You want me to make my prediction, don't you? You always.
Oh, yeah.
Tech, I don't really like doing this, but you do such a great job and you want me to do it. So I'm in now. If they get mad at me, they get mad at me.
Okay, here's the bracket, Gary. Give me your championship prediction.
Okay, first of all, I'll go to the championship game. And I'm going with the number 1 seeds. I'm going with Glens Ferry and Kendrick to meet for the title. Now, Kendrick has already won like 7 or 8 state championships. Glens Ferry has none. So maybe my heart is for Glens Ferry a little bit. But it's the year of the Tiger. The Tigers won football state. They got in a state championship basketball game 2 years in a row. The girls, but they lost this year. The girls won state. The girls softball team won district. I want to know is in China, is this, the Chinese year is this the Chinese year of the Tiger? It must be because the Tigers have put together an amazing run in this year, school year 23-24. So I'm going to pick the Tigers.
All right, Kendrick Tigers. That's Gary's official championship prediction. You heard it.
Now, you won't be able to tell of my announcing. I will root like the devil for every kid that's up there.
Yes.
I have nothing invested in this. It's just an educated guess who you think might win.
Right. And when we do these predictions, two rules. Number one, we do them for fun. And number two, we love to be wrong. If we're wrong, we'll come back and wear it. Don't worry. So, all right. Thank you for tuning into the 1A State Baseball preview. Everybody that tuned in live, if you could on the way out, or if you're going to hang around for our subsequent previews, if you could hit the like button or the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and then also share this. That'll help everybody who wasn't able to be here live tonight catch the replay a little bit easier amongst all the social media scrolling. And who doesn't want to see that state championship?
That's what we're playing for, boys. Call Jostens when you win. That's what I did.
1-800-CALL Jostens. Shauna says it's Year of the Dragon over in China, which is perfect because we're going to talk about the Malad Dragons, the defending 2A state champs.
Oh,
coming up next here on the IdahoSports.com state baseball tournament preview special.
Dear all-wheel
Idaho Sports Nation, Ideal, Idaho's education savings program, is a proud partner of IdahoSports.com and an ideal way to save for college. Did you know it only takes $25 to start an Ideal 529 savings account and you get tax benefits? There is no better time than today to start saving for college expenses for you or for a loved one. Information and a full disclosure statement, including risks, terms, and conditions, can be found online. Please read carefully before investing. idsaves.org. Go save for college and go Idaho student athletes.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com 2024 State Baseball Tournament Preview Special. It is time to break down the 2A State Baseball Tournament. We'll bring in Paul Kingsbury, who will be on the call for the 2A State Tournament, along with Scott Burton Thursday, Friday, and Saturday over in Pocatello at Hallowell Park. Paul, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Fortunately, Scott is he's a judge for the Mr. Jerome contest. He's the athletic director there and a former Mr. Jerome himself. So it was about 67 years ago, I think, when he won. So he's back wheeling up in his wheelchair to judge tonight.
Wow. Okay. Shots fired right away.
And I know what's he going to do about it.
And I know our 2A baseball fans are going to be firing the shots back and forth in the comments.
Yes.
We do this every year for football and basketball and baseball, and pretty universally 2A, the fans come out strong in support for their 2A teams. So if you're a 2A parent or a fan and you're watching on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram page, or at IdahoSports.com by clicking on the Game Streams tab, let us know where you're watching, who you're cheering for. Give your favorite team, coach, player a shout out, and we will throw it up on the screen. But let's start with this 2A bracket, Paul. Here's what it looks like. This is, along with the 1A tournament, the only two tournaments that don't use max preps to seed it. They use kind of the old school predetermined bracketing. And so this is what you've got. You've got your 5 district champions, a second place team from the north, a second place team from District 6, and then a second place team from District 3. So right away, top of the bracket, 2 district champions, Nampa Christian, the baseball dynasty that was finally toppled last year, but they're back with a vengeance for sure. They got to the championship game last year. They are the District 3 champs. They will play Wendell, the District 4 champions. That'll be followed by Orofino, the champs from the north, against Firth, the runner-up from District 6. Then we have in the night session, or the late afternoon session, Chalice Mackey, the River Cats, one of the great co-ops out there in baseball. They won the District 6 tournament by beating Firth twice. They will play Coal Valley Christian, the second place team from District 3. They had to beat Marsing in a winner go-home game on Saturday. So the Chargers advanced to state. Malad, the reigning champions, they'll go last. The District 5 champs, they'll play 6 o'clock on Thursday against Grangeville, the runner-up from District 1 and 2. Paul, right away, when you look at this bracket, what jumps out to you?
Right now what jumps out is first place, second place, third place, consolation are all back on this bracket. Malad beat Nampa Christian last year. Orofino got third place. Firth got consolation. They're all back. They're all very good. Now the other half of that is the 4 teams that are on it this year. They're good too. I'm looking at every game opening day. a lot of times there's always that, one or two games that's, well, you can just pencil in this team. You really can't on this bracket. I mean, I think opening day, I think every game, all 11 games are going to be really good, depending on certain things, which we can talk about as we go along. But each game has the potential to be a good, close game, including on day one.
Yeah, and already we've got some shout outs starting to come in here from our 2A fans. So let's get those up on the screen right away. Here's Stacy. Go Chalice Mackey River Cats. Yes, the River Cats won the District 6 title. And here's Bethany saying, let's go Trojans. Nampa Christian, of course, Paul. Nampa Christian it's been it could be Wendell as well. Yeah. In fact, I think looking at the picture, that is Wendell Trojans. Yes. Yeah. So, but let's talk about the Trojans from Nampa Christian. They're always going to be the story because they're such a baseball dynasty. Longtime coach Mark Harris retired 2 years ago. New coach came on, Jake Allen. They didn't miss a beat. They got all the way to the championship last year and nearly won the whole thing.
Yeah. And Nampa Christian, just like you said, Jake Allen comes in, has some big shoes to fill, obviously. And, he's playing, his home field is named after the coach he's replacing. That's kind of big shoes there. So he comes in, but like you said, Coach Harris had built a program. And when you take over for a coach that has built a program, you're going to get kids coming up that already know what they're doing, how to play, and they just step into roles. And that's really what you see with Nampa Christian year in and year out. Like you said, they lost last year to Malad by a single run in the championship that broke up their three-peat, back in the 2012, 14 to 18. They won every year. Then 2019 got cut short because of rain. That tournament didn't even play the second half of the bracket. And then they won a couple. And then 2020, of course. So 2019, 2020 kind of sucked for the 2A tournament. Orofino just got hammered with monsoon rain in 2019 and wiped away the back half of the bracket. And then, of course, COVID wiped away everything. And then the last couple of years have been right back to normal for Nampa Christian.
Yep, they have continued to roll along. They only lost once all year, Paul, 22-1, 10-0. If Max Preps was seeding this tournament, they would definitely be near the top of the seed line. Their only loss came to Fruitland. We'll talk about them in our 3A preview coming up here in a little bit. But otherwise, they were challenged a lot, right? They had to beat Melba in extra innings, and Marsing was tight, and Coal Valley Christian, and they beat Coal Valley the second time 2-1. But they always seem to find a way, including for the district title, Paul. They beat Marsing 1-0 in 8 innings. It went extras for the district championship last week.
Yeah, that's an exciting game to watch for the fans, huh? 1-0 in extra innings. It's heart-stopping for the parents. The general fan, yeah, that's rough. That's like a soccer 1-0. But really it comes down, Nampa Christian, their bats haven't been going as well consistently this year. Coming in at 275 batting average, great. But like you said, they always seem to get it done. But behind pitching, we'll talk about Caden Mullins, the junior pitcher for them later on. But, sub-1 ERA coming in, a good guy to have at the plate. So that they've got guys that can step in. Their pitching is going to have to be phenomenal. Jack Eiley and Caden Mullins, but their bats really have to get going. They've got one of the lower batting averages in the tournament, which is a shocker. It's not usually that's not what usually happens.
This tournament is full of top-line pitchers, more so than any other tournament I think we're going to talk about tonight. There's a lot of dudes that can spin it and just really excel. Let's talk about, Bethany corrected us, Paul. It is the Wendell Trojans. Let's talk about them because it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with these guys. They played 6 of the 7 teams that are in this state tournament this year. The only team they didn't face was Orofino. In fact, Orofino is kind of the lone duck. They kind of did their own thing this year and played only Grangeville. But look at these results. They went 1-1 against Firth. They lost to Coal Valley Christian. They beat Chalice Mackey and then tied Chalice Mackey. They swept Malad. They beat Malad, the defending champions, twice this year. They lost to Nampa Christian. They lost to Grangeville. All of these games were close and competitive. And for Wendell, you've seen everybody. That's got to be a huge advantage.
Oh, that's absolutely a huge advantage. And Wendell, it's Wendell Declo is in that conference there in the Magic Valley. And Wendell seems to always be the stepchild that's forgotten sometimes. And they've got a great program, under head coach Patrick Ryan. They're very good. And, they're coming in with a high ERA, about 3.3 somewhere in there. But the big thing they have to watch is their errors. And I think they're tied for the most coming in to the tournament with 59 errors on the season. Cutback errors, get the bats going, about 366 batting average for them. They're going to be fine. And really, when you come to state, and I heard you guys talking about it during the 1As, and it's always something we talk about in baseball, a chance for 3 games. If you lose on day 1, you don't have a chance for a blue trophy. You're on the consolation side. So there's always that decision a coach has to make of who do they throw first? Is it against a team that they know they can beat with the bats, so they don't, so you can kind of hold back on your ace, or vice versa. And in this tournament, as I said in the beginning, I don't know how coaches are going to not get heartburn deciding who to throw, on day 1, because there's no gimmies at all in these 4 games.
It's going to be really fascinating to see. And so Wendell, right away, they get Napa Christian. They played at the Glens Ferry Wood Bat Tournament earlier this year. They lost 3-0. Now, of course, you're not using wood bats at state. You're using the aluminum. So we'll see. Could be different. Here's Jeffrey Smith. Thanks for covering Idaho baseball. Spring sports are tough up here in North Idaho. So it's going to be, especially with Orofino. Let's switch to the 2 teams from the north, Orofino and Grangeville. Orofino got tantalizingly close to the championship last year, Paul. They lost in the semifinal. The 2 semifinals last year were fantastic. Napa Christian, Orofino, Marcin, Malad. That Final Four, it was a pair of 1-run games. One went to extra innings. Orofino on their home field last year got so agonizingly close. And then the next day, as you said, they turned around. They won the 3rd place game over Marcin. We didn't know it at the time, but that was the last time that Drew Hanna walked off the field wearing the Orofino High School jersey. Of course, the tragedy that shook that community in August when Drew Hanna, entering his senior season, 3-sport player, quarterback of the football team, basketball player, star pitcher on the baseball mound, passed away due to a car accident. And so a young life taken way too early. It's something that the Orofino community is still grappling with. And every time there's a big sports event, that Band-Aid gets ripped off again, and the wound becomes fresh. And so for Orofino this year, they're a team that's playing for a higher purpose. Oh, absolutely. And you can't downplay that at all, because emotion and that pride and wanting to play for something more can really push you ahead in baseball, I think, more than any other sport, because it focuses you, and you have to be focused in the game of baseball, at the plate, on the field, and coming in with this goal, playing for someone for a reason that you can't count Orofino out. And they've had a rough last few years with state, didn't make state, went 2-0, got 3rd place last year. And this year they're good. They're very good coming into this tournament, and coming down from the north, like you said, kind of doing their own thing. They're kind of the lesser known quantity as far as teams go on this bracket. And so they have the chance to come in and surprise some teams early on. Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch the Maniacs go out there and compete. Yeah. But this tournament's going to be all about pitching. I mean, look at the ERAs of I'm just looking at the 2A leaderboard this year for the top pitching performers in Class 2A. Caden Mullins, Napa Christian, 0.14 ERA. Yeah, Brady Scholl from Malad, 0.17. Blake Wilson, Cole Valley, 0.45. David Goykoa, Grangeville, 0.69. Braden Schaefer, Napa Christian, 0.74. Ruger Nichols, Chalice Mackey, 0.98. Luke Colson, Cole Valley, 1.03. That's basically 6 or 7 guys that are probably going to get a start here at the state tournament, Paul, that are pitching to a 1 ERA or below. That's absolutely right. And so you're not going to see high scoring. You're not going to see high scoring in this opening round of state tournament. Last year,
Orofino beat Declo 12-0 in 5 innings. We're not going to see that this year. Marson beat Bear Lake last year 10-4. Malad 15-2 in 5 innings over Kellogg last year. 3 of the 4 games to open the tournament last year in 2A were blowouts. That is not going to happen this year. It's going to be, sub 5-1 to 0 down the pike. And it's not going to be because the other team was bad. It's going to be because of great pitching and maybe the bats didn't come. But top to bottom, 2A is probably going to be the best tournament of the year.
Yep, it's going to be really fun. So let's parlay that into our 2A players to watch. Spoiler alert, a lot of these guys pitch. Here we go. Ruger Nichols from Chalice Mackey, Carson Russell from Coal Valley Christian, really the table setter at the top of that lineup. Daryl Vasquez from Firth. Rigo Vasquez is a great coach for Firth, been doing it a long time. And if it's Firth baseball, there's a Vasquez somewhere playing. Sam Lindsley. Yes, they do. Sam Lindsley from Grangeville. He's thrown a couple of no-hitters in his high school.
Lindsley's another, Grangeville, there's been a Lindsley coming through, been coaching, playing, I think since 1929. I mean, there's just always a Lindsley coming through at Grangeville.
Right. Brady Showell from Malad, 0.14 ERA. Caden Mullins from Nampa Christian, 0.13 ERA. Bodie Howell from Orofino. He had the game-winning hit for the Maniacs in the district championship game against Grangeville. And then Cooper Jones from Wendell. Paul, give me one guy you're really excited to see take the field here.
I think Caden Mullins from Nampa Christian, just that low of an ERA, 4-0, got 44 strikeouts, 6 walks, 1 earned run, if the stats are correct. That's not bad. That's not a bad stat line for a pitcher. On a batting side, Lindsley, batting .419, 2 home runs on the year. I mean, there's just 4 home runs for Daryl, or 3 home runs for Daryl Vasquez. I mean, there's just great hitters, great pitchers. But I think that first game watching Caden Mullins, if he pitches, I guess is a good way to put it, is going to be Caden Mullins, the junior. Such a phenom as a junior. He's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be a really fun tournament, Paul. And so before we end our 2A preview, let's pull up this bracket one more time here. You want to fill it out with how you think it might go down, Paul?
Yeah.
What do you got here?
I hate this more than Gary does. But yeah, so again, like I said, everybody's so even on this, but I did fill out a bracket. Not showing. I filled out a bracket.
Yeah, here. Go ahead.
I can't see it because it's in my crappy handwriting. But if it goes to Paul's chalk, so to speak, we're going to have Malad repeating, playing Nampa Christian. Orofino's going to get 3rd, playing Chalice Mackey. And Grangeville will get the consolation, playing Wendell.
Wow. All right. Tough sledding there.
Well, like you said, in the 1As, we like to be wrong. And this could be absolutely turned on its head on a million different things. So, this was basically throwing darts at a board and coming away with it. Don't hate me. These predictions came from Scott Burton. If you're upset and want to talk to somebody at the broadcast booth about these, it was Scott Burton.
Okay.
Not me.
Just a gut feeling. I don't know. Wendell has just been in the mix with everybody this year.
I know.
And I think Grangeville's got 2 really great pitchers in Lindsley and Goicoa. But that's what makes this tournament.
You're talking me out of my picks now. You're talking me out of it.
I think this tournament is the most wide open. It's going to be the best on paper. So have fun. Paul Kingsbury and Scott Burton will be on the call for the 2A state baseball tournament Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from Hallowell Park in Pocatello, live and free right here on IdahoSports.com. All right, all my 2A baseball fans, if you could hit that like button, the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, share this. It'll help all the 2A fans that weren't able to be here tonight find it a little easier on replay. And with that said, let's go to what is going to be another tough tournament to predict and break down. The Class 3A state bracket with Logan Green. It's coming up next here on the IdahoSports.com State Baseball Tournament Preview Special.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
Go. Yeah, go. All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
That's right. It is the 2024 Idaho High School State Baseball Tournament Preview Special. Let's break down the 3A state tournament here with Logan Green. He'll be on the call for the 3A baseball tourney along with Lance Taylor this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Northwest Nazarene University in Nampa. Logan, such a beautiful facility, and you've kind of become Mr. 3A here over the past couple of years, and it's always the same teams and all the same sports. So you know these guys really well.
It is. I mean, it really is. When you break it down, football, basketball, baseball, we see the same group core teams, right? At state basketball, I mean, you had, excuse me, you had a lot of these teams there, Kimberly, Marsh Valley, Homedale. They seem to always be in the mix, right? And we know Sugar is good at everything, just about. They seem to, be in the championship every year and all that. And Lance will be with me. He's not here right now, but Lance, he already knows everybody. But then it just adds on to it that it's the same people we see year in and year out. So it's even more opportunity for him to tell everybody what they need to know about these players, because that man is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to high school sports here in Idaho. So he's definitely a crutch that I can lean on, which is nice.
Yeah, it's like an old family reunion with all these 3A powerhouses for sure. And speaking of those 3A powerhouses, all my 3A fans that are watching this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram account, or online at IdahoSports.com, I want to hear from you, the fans. Who are you repping? Is there a player, a coach, a team that you want to give a shout out to? Throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen. And while you're doing that, if you can hit that like button and the subscribe button and share this, it'll help everybody watch it and find it a little easier on replay as well. Okay, here's a couple of comments, Logan, coming in from Instagram. Sam Buffington, whenever I see Logan, I say to myself, why not us?
Heck yeah, that's right. I even have a sticker right here.
It's right.
Logan's it's going great for me. I was just watching my Carolina Hurricanes, who were down 3-0 in the series, and this Hurricane is up to a Category 3 now. Just won 2 in a row. Series is headed back to Raleigh, but nobody needs to hear about that.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear about hockey when it's spring sports.
No, they don't. But there is so. I know Paul said he thought that 2A was the best tournament, and I disagree, because I think it's this tournament. This tournament is stacked. We have a state championship rematch game in the first round. The top 5 teams in this bracket, and I would say even the top 6 teams, when you really get down to it, they've beat up on each other throughout the season. You can find wins and losses against all of these top 6 against each other, right? It is just this, they beat them. And I love that game, Brandon. You know that, where it's, well, they beat them and they beat them and they beat them. It's all over the place in this 3A bracket. And this is going to be a very interesting tournament. And I think it's going to come down to what people are able to do on the mound in pitching, and who's going to make the least amount of errors. That has seemed to be the name of the game in this 3A tournament. We have seen just phenomenal pitching performances. Last year, the Final Four was phenomenal. 1-run games. The championship was a 1-run game, and I expect no different here. But man, you can't make mistakes. And last year, people weren't making mistakes, and that's what was keeping this tournament so close. If you're going to make mistakes, you're going to find yourself on the left side of the bracket instead of the right. If you're not able to contain it, because there are some great pitchers out there that are going to rely on the defense to scoop it up and get those outs.
Yep, for sure. A couple more comments rolling in here. Tommy Woodcock 40 on Instagram. Sugar Salem fire. And spoiler alert, Tommy Woodcock's going to be in our players to watch coming up here in just a little bit from the Diggers. Also, Andres Garcia 3. Homedale fire. I think those are a couple of players for their respective teams, Logan. Trading Barbs. On Instagram. Also, here's Jared Hall, Homedale Trojans representing. I'm going to guess he's related to Lucas Hall, who's a phenomenal player for Homedale. And then here's Shauna, and she says, go Eagles. That's, of course, Marsh Valley. Let's actually take a look at this bracket, Logan, and dive into it. Here's what we've got at NNU. over the next 3 days. Sugar Salem and South Fremont, old rivals, Logan, right away in the first round. That's followed by Fruitland the 3 against Timberlake the 6. Then we've got what you alluded to, Logan, at 4:00 on Thursday, the 3A championship rematch from a year ago. Kimberly and Marsh Valley in the 4 versus 5. And then it's the top dog Homedale taking on a district foe from Parma. They went into districts as the number 5 seed, Logan. They came out as the third finisher. They get the number 8 seed overall. And first time in a long time that both Parma's baseball and softball teams are both headed to state. It's been a great spring at Parma.
Yeah, and we talk so much about, it's the same old people here in 3A, but it is nice to see Parma here. We haven't seen them in a while, and even South Fremont. We haven't seen them for a couple of years here in this tournament. And really, it's I think they made it to state football a couple of years ago, but we haven't heard much from the Cougars over the last few years. So it is always good to see these teams break through and give themselves a shot. And it's funny that those two teams we're talking about have to go up against conference opponents in the first round. But the first round of games is enticing, right? Because you've got 2 conference matchups, which Homedale and Sugar Salem swept those games during the season, whether it be in the district tournament or in the regular season. But you look at the other 2, and Fruitland, the 3 seed, plays Timberlake. Timberlake lost the regular season matchup, but only by 1 run. That was only a 1-run game. So that's an enticing 3-6 game right off the bat. And then Kimberly and Marsh Valley played twice this year. Kimberly won both of those games. So there's a lot of intrigue in the first round, and it's just going to continue to roll throughout the tournament.
Yep. Here's a comment on Instagram from Weston Osborne. 14 years for baseball and 20 years for softball at Parma. Those were the droughts for state tournaments that were snapped here. So that's incredible, Logan. Yeah, you mentioned Timberlake. They came down to the Bill Betts tournament that Fruitland hosts every spring early on in April, and they played Sugar Salem and beat the Diggers 6-1.
They won.
Not too many teams did that this year. They lost to Fruitland by a run, as you alluded to. And so normally we've got all these data points that you were referencing. And normally the team up north, we just say, they did their own thing. But this year, Timberlake came down. We've got even more data points to connect. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Brandon. So I made like this little chart, right? So Sugar, the teams in the field that they played, they beat Fruitland. So they've already knocked off the Grizzlies this year, but they lost to Timberlake. Sugar only lost 4 games this year. They lost to Timberlake, and the rest were either 4 or 5A schools, Minico, Bora, and Caldwell. So really, their only loss at their level or below was to Timberlake, right? South Fremont, hey, don't forget about them. They beat Kimberly this year. Fruitland, or Homedale, they beat Fruitland 3 times, but lost to Kimberly and Marsh Valley. I mean, this is a mess, right? Kimberly lost to Fruitland twice, but beat Marsh Valley twice, and they beat Homedale, and they split with South Fremont. So it's just a big mess. Marsh Valley lost to Kimberly twice, but beat Homedale twice in Homedale. And then Fruitland beat Kimberly twice, beat Timberlake, but lost to Sugar Salem and lost to Homedale 3 times. So if you think you can say they beat them, so they beat them, so they're going to beat them, I don't think that is possible in this tournament. I'm having a hard time picking who I think is going to win. I keep flip-flopping back and forth who I think is going to come out of this one.
Yeah, and again, pitching has been so good for all of these teams this year,
Yes.
Logan. Just looking at the ERA leaders and all of these pitchers through, between 30 and 60-ish innings. Of course, the conversation starts with Dylan Fine from Homedale, one of the most decorated pitchers in Idaho history. University of Utah commit, an 0.28 ERA, but Caden Robinette from Timberlake very quietly had an 0.86 ERA this year, and he's being looked at by some colleges. Coulter Hansen from South Fremont, right at 1 on the season. Jacob Cummins from Kimberly, 1.07. Peyton Fine, that's Dylan's brother, 1.19 ERA. Garrett Nelson from Kimberly, 1.51. Landon Bashong from Fruitland, 1.62. Carson Harris from Sugar, 1.75. McAnally from Sugar, 1.98. I mean, a lot of these teams, Logan, have 3 pitchers they can turn to.
And that is where I'm at with this tournament, is who has the third pitcher. Because I think most people everybody's got a 1. And when do you, this is always a question. You're going to go into this on every single one of your preview shows here, but when do you throw your 1? When do you throw the 2? And who do you have that can win you a game that is not your 1 or your 2? Right. So, I look at the first round and I look at who do I think has the best 1 and 2? I think it's Homedale. I think they've got the best 1-2 punch in the Fine brothers, twins, triplets. I think they have the best 1-2. Peyton and Dylan, like you said, a .28 for Dylan. Peyton has a 1.19 ERA. Between the two of them, over 170 strikeouts on the year and only 11 earned runs between the two of them. Right. So, I mean, you're gonna have to rely on an error for Homedale, which traditionally has been an issue for them. But this year only had 38 errors. Sugar Salem, they're the ones that I'm most curious about, right? Coming into this, that I'm starting to lean towards. They were very good in the field. They only had 27 errors throughout the season, and they've got Harris, Gardner, and McAnally that can all throw the ball too. And so that's my gut is leaning me that way. But at the same time, Homedale, I think that they can get through Parma without using a Fine brother, and they're gonna have them on day 2 and day 3. And so it's going to be very hard to beat either one of those two. It's going to take a perfect game. From a batting perspective, you're going to have to scrap some runs across the plate if you want to do it this tournament. But at the same time, Marsh Valley has won back-to-back tournaments. So, until somebody knocks them off, do we doubt Marsh Valley, right? Kimberly, phenomenal tournament last year. We're a run away from winning it all. And those two play in the first round. Like we said with Timberlake, they got a great pitcher, Romanet, up there. They beat Fruitland already. Maybe they get to the second round and pull an upset. I don't know, Brandon. It's so tough right now to look at it and figure out what's going to happen here.
Yeah, you figure Homedale, they beat Parma twice this year, 9-0 and then 7-4. You figure they'll probably go to Lucas Hall, the sophomore, for that game, and then the Fine brothers, in theory, for the semis and the championship if they get there. But go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. In one of those wins against Parma, they didn't even throw any of those three. They threw Heffelfinger and Holtman in that game, which they won the 7-4 victory.
Those are Parma guys.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong side. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're good. But those are the two guys. Those are the two guys.
Those are the guys that
Parma leans
they're going to rely on. Excuse me, I was looking there. Those are the two guys that Parma's going to, Parma needs them to come out and do well. Excuse me. So Peyton did win that game, but here's the thing: Parma got 4 hits up on him in that game, scored 4 runs. So that's what makes me think. Even a Parma, right? We think, oh, Parma's going to win, but they're in the same conference. They've seen the kid play enough, pitch up against them enough that they're used to it. It's not new seeing that 93-mile-per-hour fastball come down Main Street like it might be for another team that hasn't seen a Fine brother pitch this year.
Yep. Here's Jeffrey Smith in the comments. Saw Timberlake a few times. Robinette and the crew are solid. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Timberlake was the spoiler and found themselves as a 6th seed in the state championship game, right?
No, and last year Timberlake, didn't perform as well as they wanted to, and I felt like they were right there, like they were in those games. Maybe it's the bottom of the order, just couldn't get it done, and I'm curious to see how they come out this year because, like I said, they've already beat Fruitland, and Fruitland has they have some wins against really good teams, but they also haven't beat, they've lost to some of those teams. So I'm super curious how this is going to go, and I keep flip-flopping with who I think it could go. I think outside of the first game and the last game, those middle 2 games, who knows how they're going to shake out on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll put your feet to the fire here in just a second, but you can see right here. I mean, Timberlake lost to Fruitland by a run, and let's say then they atone for that and then get to this, and they're playing Sugar. They beat Sugar this year. Now it was early on, but they won 6-1. So I mean, there's plenty of pathways available for really, I think, the top 6 teams. It wouldn't surprise me to see any of them in there.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. And I mean, this tournament last year it was. I don't think you could beat how the tournament was last year. I mean, I'm going to pull it back up here just because, I'm not old, but my memory. So Kimberly defeated Sugar in that final, in the semifinals, 9-8 in extra innings. Homedale defeated Marsh Valley defeated Homedale 1-0 in extra innings. So both games went extra innings, were 1-run games. And then the state championship was also a 1-run victory for Marsh Valley. So you never know. It's just, who knows? We're gonna watch and see what happens. But I really think that any of these teams could come out. It wouldn't surprise me to see any of those top 6 make a run.
Yep. Let's take a look at our 3A players to watch. We picked one from each school just as a starting point in the conversation, Logan. Titus Vidlak from Fruitland leads this Grizzly offense in a lot of categories. He's only a freshman. He was also the starting quarterback for Fruitland's football team this fall as a freshman. Dylan Fine from Homedale going to pitch for the Utah Utes next year. Garrett Nelson from Kimberly, great batter, great pitcher. Tough Solomon, Marsh Valley. He threw a no-hitter earlier this year on the mound. Samuel Holtman, he's kind of the senior leader for this Parma team. He's going to be the guy I would anticipate they turn to right away in that tournament opener on the mound. Max Clark from South Fremont, great multi-sport athlete, just a gritty guy. Tommy Woodcock from Sugar Salem really has some thump in the bat. And then Caden Robinette, the superlative pitcher from Timberlake. Which guy are you most excited to see here play, Logan? I mean, you've already seen a lot of these guys play, but
Brandon, that's the thing. That's what makes me want to say Max Clark, just because I haven't seen him play yet. But I think I've seen everybody else here play at least something, whether it's baseball or Titus Vidlak, seeing him on the football field as a freshman. So I'm gonna go Max Clark. But at the same time, if you have never seen Dylan Fine pitch, you want to see that. If you have never seen Tough Solomon pitch, you want to see that. Caden Robinette, great player. Woodcock, like you said, he can hit it. There's so many great players on all this team. I mean, Sugar, you got, you got Tommy Woodcock there, but you don't have Dawson McAnally, Jackson Gardner, right, or Carson Harris. You don't have those 3 guys, right, that are phenomenal players. So this is going to be a fun tournament. There's so many great players here. A couple of Division I players on these rosters, and it's going to be a great tournament.
We had Weston Osborne in the chat here on Instagram, Logan. He is a player for Parma, and he's saying he hopes that he says hope they pitch Peyton, and then he's got the prayer hands emoji. So he wants Peyton Fine from Homedale right away. Okay, they saw him earlier this year, Logan, and I'm sure the coaching staff has a game plan if they do encounter him again. That's what makes this tournament so fun. Everybody has seen each other in some form or fashion.
Yes.
So.
And that's what, like, almost everybody, Parma, they are the only team in this tournament to have not defeated another team in this tournament. So, even South Fremont has a win over Kimberly, right? That you can trace back, right, to beating everybody, right? Because everybody's beating up on everybody. Nobody owns a clean sweep against everybody in the tournament. So Parma, there's no reason Parma can't, though, because they've seen Homedale a couple times, right? And you just never know. A couple years ago, we see a young Fruitland team, I think was a 7 seed, and you throw a freshman up on the screen, and what else is new, right? A young player for Fruitland doing well. I've never heard that before. And they just continue to churn out these young guys after young guys who go out and play well. So we'll see what happens. Should be fun.
Yep. In the comments here's Robert Torres. You forgot Will Chappell, the BYU commit for Sugar. That's the thing. It was tough picking one kid from every team. And definitely Will Chappell is phenomenal. And that reminds me of another point here, Logan. Sugar, we talked about Orofino in the 2A preview, playing for a higher purpose this year. Sugar Salem is doing the same because Mac Chappell, who you and I were on the call for a fantastic game at the 3A tournament 2 years ago where Sugar beat Snake River in extras on a walk-off. It was from Mac Chappell. He had since graduated and had moved on. He was post high school, but still only 19 years old. And he tragically passed away this year as well. And that really affected the Sugar Salem community. So they're kind of playing for a higher purpose this year too.
Yeah, I remember I saw that. I texted Lance and I was like, oh my gosh, because it was the day, I think it was the day of the 3A boys basketball championship. And we were like, what? Well, I just couldn't believe that happened. Such a sad situation. And yeah, I do believe, there's probably something a little extra there for Sugar Salem because of that. Just anytime something like that happens, it's hard. Even, I air quote knew him just from covering him over that. And it was, you never like to hear anything like that. And so I really hope that, Sugar can take something good out of it. And, hopefully we see them do well here in the state tournament.
Yep. Here's Jeffrey Smith, Woodcock, and Robinette. That's Sugar, Salem, and Timberlake, two of our players to watch. They're headed to South Mountain in the Phoenix area, one of the toughest JUCO leagues in the nation. Yeah, they're going to go do the JUCO thing, and then I assume latch on at Division I program somewhere. That's going to be awesome. And here's one more comment, Logan, from Coach Miranda of the South Fremont Cougars.
Oh,
South Fremont has a win over Marsh Valley too. Don't forget about South Fremont hanging out there too.
I know that. I guess I'm not. I know what, and I'm not trying to say anything against that. It's just they didn't beat Sugar this year. That's my thing, right? You got to get through Sugar. But man, they're a great team. There's no reason anybody can't make a run here at state. That is what state tournaments are about. That's what it's about, right? Is somebody stepping up. You get on the field. It doesn't matter your record. It doesn't matter anything. You have 3 games to win. That is it. That's the only thing. The team that wins 3 games takes home the blue trophy, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Logan, who's going to win 3 games here at state? Time for your official prediction.
Okay, Brandon. So I'm struggling because I really think that Homedale's going to have the 2 they want on day 2 and day 3. But here's the thing about Homedale that worries me, Brandon. Okay, they beat Fruitland a couple times, but they've lost to Kimberly. They lost to Marsh Valley twice at home. They didn't play as strong of a schedule during the season as a lot of these other teams, and I haven't seen, when you look at it, that high performance against some really tough teams, and but they did beat Fruitland a couple times, who took care of business against some of these teams. Sugar Salem, I just think it's their year, Brandon. I think the Sugar Salem Diggers get it done. I know that's tough for me to even go against Homedale because I really like that squad. I really like everything that Homedale's done. They've really fought. They've got all the pieces in place. But Sugar just seems, they were there 2 years ago, and you could tell they were good enough to win a game, but just couldn't get it done in that second game. Last year they were just not good enough to win that game in extra innings. And I feel like this year they're going to get over the hump. They're going to get to the state championship, and I think they're going to get it done. I think Sugar Salem comes away with it. That hurts me to say, honestly, because I don't know. And I will eat that crow all day long, just like everybody else has said, because Homedale might come out and no hit them in the state championship. And I'll be wrong, and I'll be glad to wear that hat all day long. But how would that be, a Homedale Sugar Salem state championship? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, we've never seen that anywhere. Here's Paul Kingsbury stirring the pot in the comments, your boss and mine. Logan said in the green room that he hates South Fremont. That is not true. And Coach Miranda can acknowledge, yes, Sugar is tough. Great squad. Hey, great coaches.
My wife, she worked at the homestead, the assisted care living there in St. Anthony for a couple years. So my wife has cared for the residents of St. Anthony. So I don't hate South Fremont.
Yeah. Paul just coming with the fake news. And here's a comment from Jose Galvin. Go Glenn's Ferry. And that's a good reminder. We already did our 1A preview, Jose, but you can go back and watch it on replay anytime on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram account, or at IdahoSports.com. But for everybody that's here live right now, if you could hit that like button or the subscribe button on YouTube and then share this when we're finished, that will help Jose and everybody else that wants to go back and watch certain parts of the show. It'll help them find it a little easier amongst all the cat videos and cooking videos and everything else that pops up on your social media feeds. So if you could hit that like button, that subscribe button, and then share, that would be super helpful. But Logan, 3A tournament is going to be a banger this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. And there's no easy game on this bracket. There's not an easy game in the first round. It's going to be phenomenal weather. We shouldn't have any issues with anything like that. Should be a great tournament, and I'll get off my soapbox and let Lucas have a turn here.
Yeah, Lucas has been patiently waiting backstage for like half an hour.
Shut up, Logan. Shut up, man. Come on, I got stuff to do. The Avalanche are playing, Logan. I need to watch it.
Yes. Okay. Royals fan 4432. Real quick on Instagram. Talk about some other Parma players. Give us love. Okay. I will tell you, we talked about Heffelfinger and Holtman, the two seniors that are kind of the leaders of this team. They've also got a sophomore pitcher in Caden Cole, who is really good. Like, he was one of the best pitchers in the conference as a freshman last year. He's kind of a little known secret that I think it'll be fun to watch him pitch on the big stage at the state tournament as well. And of course, our guy Weston Osborne, who was in the comments tonight too, from Parma, another guy to keep an eye on at the plate. So there's some Parma love, and we'll see if the Panthers can do it and shock the world. But that will do it for our 3A state baseball tournament preview Thursday, Friday, Saturday from NNU in Nampa, right here on IdahoSports.com. Coming up next, it is our Class 4A state baseball preview. On the other side of this break, you're watching the 2024 Idaho High School State Baseball Tournament Preview Special on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way, all the way. Go. All the way down, all the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com State Baseball Tournament Preview Special. That's right. The breakdowns never stop. We are now going to look at the Class 4A State Baseball Tournament, and we will bring on our esteemed play-by-play man, Lucas Gebhardt. Lucas will be broadcasting the 4A State Baseball Tournament from Valley View High School in Caldwell alongside Glenn Jones this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Lucas, hello. Thanks for being so patient.
I know we're about 8 minutes left in the first period with Av Stars game 4. So, but we got it on in the background. So big one tonight in Denver. So,
man, what's with you and Logan in your hockey talk, man? It is spring. It's baseball.
I was going to bring it up. He brought it up. So,
yeah.
No Avs.
All right. Well, we've already got a 4A shout out here from Crazy Coleslaw on YouTube. He says, "Go Minico." Just looking at the profile picture there, looks like it might be a Minico player too, which is cool. All the 4A fans that are watching this right now, I want you to give your shout outs to your favorite team, your favorite player, your favorite coach. Throw it in the chat. We will throw it up on the screen. If you want to ask us a question or just give a shout out to someone, that's what we are here for. But we are also here to break down this 4A state baseball tournament bracket, Lucas. So let's get to it. Here is the 4A bracket. It is Moscow, the number 2 seed from the north, and that raised a few eyebrows when the seedings came out via the Max Preps ranking. But here's the deal. Up north, the 5A and 4A schools play in a combined Inland Empire League. So Moscow had to play Coeur d'Alene twice, Lake City twice, Lewiston twice, and they held their own against those 5A schools. So that really boosted their stock. They're the 2 seed. They'll play Minico, the 7 seed. They were the District 4 champions. They beat Twin Falls 8-6 in the District 4 finale. Then we've got a fantastic 3 versus 6 matchup immediately following that. Blackfoot and Pocatello, the defending champs from Pocatello High. It's been a bit of a roller coaster this year. We'll see if the ride will stop while it's in midair or if it will reach the end of its journey this time around. But right away, they're going to have to play a really tough Blackfoot team. Bishop Kelly, the 4, will play Twin Falls, the 5. Those are 2 teams that are used to being in the mix for state championships, and they'll have a knockout game right away. And then Skyview, the number 1 overall seed, will take on Bonneville, the number 8 seed. Lucas, what jumps out to you right away when you look at this bracket?
Well, a couple things, and it's kind of the theme of this preview show. It's familiarity from last year's tournament. A couple of guys before us said, well, 6 of the 8 are back. We have 7 of the 8 back in this bracket. So, I mean, not to one up anyone here, but the only team that's new to this year's bracket from last year's bracket is Minico in that 7 spot. And that's kind of an interesting matchup with Moscow in that 2 seed. Like you said, a lot of matchups with some 5A teams there for Moscow, but it's a 17-7 team coming into this state tournament with all these 5A teams on their schedule, and they have some wins here too. They've beat Lewiston. They've beat the likes of Sandpoint and Lakeland, which are 4A teams, and dominated their district. But They had a 1-run loss to Coeur d'Alene, and that game went 11 innings earlier this year as well. So Moscow is a legit 2 seed. They have 3 guys that are hitting over 400, and JP Breeze leading the way at 418 average, 21 ribbies with 19 stolen bases. It's about a stolen base a game, just under that. So he can run the bases too. So Moscow's a good team in that 2 seed. And a lot of times at state, we don't really know what we're getting from the North Idaho teams, but I think that's a legit seed there from Moscow. The other thing that's jumping out to me is Twin and Bishop Kelly yet again. That's 4 years in a row now that they're going to play each other in the state tournament, and they'll get to duke it out in the quarterfinals on Thursday. I think that'll be the game of the day on Thursday.
That's going to be a fun one for sure. And we're getting a lot of Moscow love in the comments here. Here's Amber Anderson, Moscow Bears, baby. I wonder if she's related to Levi Anderson, standout pitcher. Jeffrey Smith says, duh, Bears played all the 5A IEL teams tough, and Levi Anderson is a dude. Yes, and that's all caps, dude, for sure. Let's talk about BK and Twin, because they took the path less traveled to get here, right? Neither one of those teams won their district, right? Skyview was the District 3 champs. Minico was the District 4 champs. Bishop Kelly went through a weird stretch in their season where they forfeited a couple of league games, and so the overall record isn't quite as sterling as it usually is, but don't be fooled. This BK team is just as capable as any other team we've seen from the past.
Yeah, it's Bishop Kelly baseball, and this is a team that's won a couple state championships since the pandemic. They went to the semis last year, so they know how to turn it on when state weekend rolls around. Twin, on the other hand, they won the district regular season, but they ended up stumbling in their district tournament. Kind of had to fight their way to even get to the state tournament. They beat Mountain Home a couple days ago, 2-0. So they a little bit of a taste of the state tournament right there for Twin. So like I said, I think that's going to be the game of the day on Thursday. I mean, these are 2 of the blue blood baseball programs of late in the 4A classification. Twin is we have records going back to 2010. Twins made the tournament every year since then. I don't know the last time that Twin made the tournament, and my wife's an alum of Twin, so like I should know that, and I don't. That's how much Twin has made this state tournament. So, but BK is one of those programs that always throws athletes at you, regardless of what sport it is. They're always well coached. They're always in the right place at the right time, and that's regardless of what sport they're playing. And I think that program's come a long way since that late March, early April window where they did forfeit those couple games.
Yeah, and quickly about Twin Falls, you mentioned they beat Mountain Home in the 3rd place game at districts 2-0 to earn their spot at state. That was a gut check moment for them because they were facing the best pitcher in Idaho baseball at the 4A level, not named Dax Whitney, who we'll get to from Blackfoot, but it's this kid from Mountain Home, Trey Morse. He had a .15 ERA this year. He was by far the best pitcher in the conference, and he had not faced Twin Falls at all this year. So those Twin Falls batters were going in blind against arguably the best pitcher in all of 4A. And they found a way, and they had to turn to their own young pitcher on the mound, the sophomore Stadelmeyer, the son of Coach Tim Stadelmeyer, and he delivered in a win-or-go-home pressure-packed situation. So you've got a sophomore now with a big game under his belt, and I think this could kind of give Twins some momentum coming into state.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because, like I said, they've already played a game that you're going to see at the state tournament with that 2-0 win against Mountain Home. I mean, that's get a good pitching performance, give your hitters a chance, get some guys on base, and scrap across a couple runs. I mean, that's how you win at the state tournament. That's how Twin got to this state tournament. So I do think that gives Twin a little bit of an edge kind of going into this one. And I mean, they would love nothing more than to finally beat Bishop Kelly in the state tournament. Let me tell you what, I mean, if they get that win Thursday, that'll be a sweet win for that program.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun for sure. So we'll see Twin and BK, that 3rd game of the day. And then I think the table setter ahead of that one is going to be fantastic too. Blackfoot and Pocatello. And really the best player in Idaho baseball this year, to me, pitcher, batter, doesn't matter, is Dax Whitney from Blackfoot. Dylan Fine from Homedale is right up there too in terms of pitching they're equal. Whitney's going to go to Oregon State. Dylan Fine from Homedale is going to go to Utah, but Whitney is just a little bit better at the plate. I think he's a true dual threat. He leads Blackfoot in most offensive categories. He's obviously going to go pitch for an Oregon State program that is pretty much the best program in what used to be the Pac-12. And really the question for Blackfoot then is, okay, who can they turn to after that?
Yeah, totally. I think Dax Whitney, here's his stat line real quick, hitting .513, 40 RBIs. He's got 4 home runs, and then that's just his hitting. I mean, and then on the mound, he's got a 0.15 ERA in 10 appearances. So that means he's given up 1, maybe 2 earned runs the entire year with that earned run average. It can't be more than that, right? That .513 average is got to be one of the highest in the state. If not, it might be one of the highest in the state. I mean, that's a slow pitch softball batting average, right? I mean, that's getting a hit over every single time that you're up at the plate, not only getting on base, but a hit too. So, I mean, that's just an incredible average. And Blackfoot's one of those teams that I think Blackfoot is really dangerous at that 3 seed. I think they have the arms to make a real deep run. Obviously led by Whitney on the mound and behind and at the plate too. So, but they got 2 guys with ERAs that are under 1 and Whitney and Cy Callister. And then they have Randall too, who you could throw him on, let's say, a championship Saturday type of scenario. His ERA is under 2 with a 5-1 record. So there's your 3 starters right there. I don't know exactly how they're going to chalk it up, but I mean, there's 3 guys that have 9 or more appearances, all with ERAs under 2. So, I mean, that's the recipe to win at the state tournament. Blackfoot's a team I really like this weekend.
Yep. And earlier this year, Whitney threw the first perfect game in Blackfoot high school history as well. That game against Idaho Falls. So, it was a 5-inning game because of the 10-run rule. So he faced 15 guys. I believe 14 of the 15 he struck out. So that's just an indicator of, what he brings. Yeah. Kind of a funny twist. So Whitney is committed to Oregon State University. Pocatello has a player who's committed to Oregon State University. It's their catcher, Martin Serrano. So Serrano might be catching Whitney in the future as a teammate in college. But for this game, he's going to have to go up against him in the batter's box. So let's talk about Pokey for a second here. They are the defending champions, but man, they have had a real wild season where at times I look at them and I go, yeah, they're the defending champs and they look good. And then I'll be honest, there's times where I look at them and I go, how did these guys even make it to state? They played Century in their district tournament opener, Lucas, and they were down 6-0 going into the bottom of the 7th inning, and they scored 7 runs to walk it off and win in the bottom of the 7th. But you can't do that at state. You can't get in a 6-run hole until the 7th inning. That's just not going to work.
Well, yeah, especially against these pitching staffs that you're going to see at the state tournament, and you just don't get away. You're probably not going to score 7 runs in a game regardless, especially if it's on that right side of the bracket where it's a quarterfinal, semifinal, championship game. The thing I do like about Pocatello is they're playing their best baseball right now at the right time of year. You mentioned coming back in that district tournament game. They've won 8 of their last 10, but here's the thing. They haven't played in over a week. There'll be 8 days since the last time that Pokey has played a game come Thursday. So especially these East Idaho schools that are sort of playing these 3-game series where they play literally 3 games in 2 days, a doubleheader, and then a game the next day too. A lot of these East Idaho schools, that's just the way their schedule is built. But I think that gives them an advantage once they get to the state tournament. But for some of these schools who haven't played since, Blackfoot's kind of in the same boat, haven't played since May 9th. Pokey hasn't played since May 8th. Bonneville, kind of the same type of situation there. These teams that are used to playing 2 or 3 games in a day, when they have over a week off, I'm curious to see how that's going to affect things in the first 4 or 5 innings of our game on Thursday.
It'll be interesting for sure. Who can knock off the rust first? So we talked about the 2 D1 players from Blackfoot and Pocatello, Whitney and Serrano. They're both going to Oregon State. There is a 3rd Division I player at this tournament, Lucas, and it is from the top-seeded Skyview Hawks. I can't remember a team that's come in with less fanfare as a number 1 seed than Skyview. They're led by Grady Daniels, who has committed to Utah Tech, the Trailblazers down there in St. George. And so this is a Skyview team that won 20-plus games this year.
Yeah, Skyview 22-2 coming into the tournament, and that's in the SIC in the Boise area. So Historically in 4A, 5A, that's kind of where the baseball powers lie. I don't, with Middleton going up to 5A now, you can make an argument that maybe East Idaho is maybe taking that over, but Skyview has got a 22-2 record now coming into the state tournament. And they have the second best lineup. If you look at how many runs they score per game, they score about 9.5 runs a game. That's the second best in the state tournament. They give up about 4 runs a game. That's the second lowest ERA among the tournament teams. And then on top of that, they have a 5-1 record against other teams in this state tournament. Go figure, they've only lost 2 games the whole year, right? And here's the other thing I really like about Skyview is them and Bonneville has this too. These are 2 teams that are probably the most aggressive on the base pass. I mean, just looking at Skyview, they have 3 guys that I'm looking at right here that have stolen 12 or more bases on the season. So in Bonneville especially has 5 players that have stolen 10 or more bases, right? So Bonneville and Skyview are the 2 that are probably going to be the most aggressive on the base pass this weekend. And so Skyview to me isn't really one of those teams that's the best at everything, but they're really good at everything. And I think that's going to bode well for them. Now, that being said, I think Skyview has the toughest or the tougher half of the bracket because they're going to get, if they get through their game on Thursday, they're going to get the Twin Falls BK winner. And that's a tough matchup. I think regardless of who it is, BK or Twin, I think that's going to be a heck of a game on Friday evening there at 7:00. I think that one could go either way.
Yeah, Skyview as a team stole 77 bases this year, Lucas, led by Noah Palomares, who actually goes to school at Victory Charter. He was a great basketball player for the Vipers, led them to the consolation title at the 1A D1 state basketball tournament this year. And then Victory Charter doesn't have a baseball team, so he moonlights at Skyview, plays center field, and he's going to play baseball at NNU next year, Northwest Nazarene University. He led the way with 17 swipes on the base paths this year for the Hawks. Here is Lake City varsity baseball, and we're going to talk about Lake City coming up in our 5A preview. Max Preps has Skyview number 3 in the entire state of Idaho, including the 5A teams. So that's some big league production there from the Hawks. Let's take a look at our 4A players to watch, Lucas. We selected one guy from each team. Not an exhaustive list by any means, just a starting point to get the conversation rolling. A lot of these guys we've already talked about. Cooper Cameron from Bishop Kelly, just a solid veteran leader, does it all. Dax Whitney from Blackfoot. Lincoln Stewart from Bonneville. This is a young Bonneville team. A lot of sophomores, couple freshmen, a lot of juniors. Lincoln Stewart from Bonneville, a young guy to keep an eye on. Logan Maybe from Minico. Maybe he'll lead the that's a pun. That's a bad pun, but he's a great player from Minico. Levi Anderson from Moscow, Martin Serrano from Pokey, Grady Daniels from Skyview, and then Cooper Thompson from Twin Falls leads the Bruins in most of their offensive categories. Which guy are you most excited to watch at this tournament?
Yeah, I talked about it already, but for me, it's Dax Whitney out of Blackfoot. Just the stat line is just incredible. Talked about it already, hitting over 500 and an ERA that's lower than a half run a game. Kid can do it all. I would imagine he's probably, I don't know. Blackfoot's deep enough that they could maybe get away with throwing someone else on Thursday, but he's going to get the bump in some important situations, whether that's to start the thing on Thursday or whether that's into Friday or Saturday. So I'm excited. He's just kind of your do-it-all type player. And yeah, he's the player that I'm most excited to watch. That being said, you said we got 3 Division I athletes in this tournament. I always love watching that. I always love watching kids that are going to play at the next level. Yeah,
it's a loaded field of players for sure. A couple more Skyview comments here. Here's Luke Rentschler. Skyview's dealt with a lot of injuries this year. We are coming into the state tournament with everyone healthy for the first time this season. It's going to be a fun tournament for the Hawks. Boy, you've been banged up all year and you still went 22-2. I'd hate to see what the full strength Hawks look like. Jeez. And here's Robert McPherson. Skyview is impressive. They whooped up on Middleton. Yes, and Middleton is right in the mix to win the 5A title this year as well. But that brings us to prediction time, Lucas. Let's put that bracket back up on the board one final time here. Give me your championship predictions.
Yeah, these late lobbyists for Skyview have me rethinking it a little bit. I was originally, I really like Blackfoot. I really do. I think I think they can get past Pocatello on Thursday. I think that Blackfoot has the deepest pitching staff. I think we're going to see a Blackfoot Skyview championship, and that's going to be a tough one for me to pick. But I'm gonna stick with what my original pick was. I'm going to go with Blackfoot. Although, here's the thing: Skyview is getting healthy at the right time. That can make them even more dangerous because, like I said earlier, Skyview just does it all. But I'm going to go with Blackfoot just purely because of the depth of this pitching staff, and with the pitchers that they have. I mean, like I said, they could throw 3 guys in this tournament, all with ERAs under 2, and then they got another guy, Peyton Taylor, who's got an ERA under 3. So that's 4 guys that they have that could get them through the weekend. I think if all 3 or 4 of those guys pitch to the capability that they're capable of, I think Blackfoot can certainly win this tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch for sure. It'll all get started Thursday morning from Valley View High School, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Lucas Gebhardt and Glenn Jones on the call for the 4A state baseball tournament here on IdahoSports.com. Doesn't cost you a cent to tune in and watch. It's going to be a great time. Lucas, enjoy the 4A tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll see you Thursday.
All right. Big thanks to all the 4A fans for tuning in as well. Just one more friendly reminder. If you could hit that like button, the subscribe button, share this when we're all done. It'll help everybody find it on replay a little bit easier. But one more tournament to go with a 5A. And okay, one more 4A comment before we get out of here. Okay. Cooper Thompson from Twin Falls. Jeffrey Smith says, I've seen him at some showcases. Beast. No more needs to be said for Cooper Thompson of Twin Falls. All right. Well, several beasts coming up here in the 5A state baseball tournament. That preview coming up next here on IdahoSports.com's 2024 state baseball tournament preview special.
Idaho Sports Nation, Ideal, Idaho's education savings program, is a proud partner of IdahoSports.com and an ideal way to save for college. Did you know it only takes $25 to start an Ideal 529 savings account and you get tax benefits? There is no better time than today to start saving for college expenses for you or for a loved one. Information and a full disclosure statement, including risks, terms, and conditions, can be found online. Please read carefully before investing. idsaves.org. Go save for college and go Idaho student athletes.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com 2024 state baseball tournament preview special. It is time to break down the 5A brackets. So let's bring on Ryan Luke. Ryan, you and I will be on the call for the 5A state baseball tournament from Wolf Field at the College of Idaho in Caldwell. You're parked right outside the stadium, right? You're ready to go.
Yeah, where's everybody? I thought it was today. I mean, I thought it started already. What's going on?
Ryan, we appreciate you squeezing us in here. I know you've been busy this week, so we appreciate you hopping on to break down this 5A tournament. And we want to hear from all of those 5A baseball fans. Middleton, Eagle, Owyhee, somebody outside the state of Ada. We want to hear from you, the 5A fans. Give your favorite team, your favorite player, your favorite coach a shout out as we break down this 5A state baseball tournament. But with that said, let's take a look at the bracket, because this is, to me, very intriguing with some of the matchups we got right away. It starts with the 4 versus the 5. Rocky Mountain, the 4 seed. Middleton, the 5. That raised some eyebrows for sure. Middleton being slotted into that number 5 seed. Eagle got the number 1 seed. They're going to play Mountain View, the number 8. So it is all District 3 at that top half of the bracket, which means we are guaranteed to have somebody from the Treasure Valley in the championship game. Then at the bottom half of the bracket, Owyhee, the 2 seed. They'll play Highland, the 7. And then Lake City and Coeur d'Alene, they're going to drive 8 hours just to play each other for the 6th time this year in the 3 versus 6 matchup. What jumps out to you when you look at this bracket, Ryan?
Well, you hit on a couple of points. I mean, the first thing was that top half, that's an SIC half of the 5A tournament. And what you're looking at with Middleton, I mean, realistically, we could have round 4 of actually, we'll call it round 6 of Middleton versus Eagle coming into that second round if Eagle can pull it off and Middleton takes care of business. Middleton is not the number 5 seed at all. I mean, Middleton plays really, really good baseball. They unfortunately fell in the power rankings on Max Preps just due to the fact they lost those final 2 games to Eagle in the SIC championship. But what stands out to me is just how good a baseball. I mean, look, if you get an Eagle Owyhee state championship, if you get a Middleton Owyhee state championship, like anything you get there is going to be really, really good. Now, you pointed out Lake City versus Coeur d'Alene. It was funny. I was talking to somebody and they said, hey, can we just play that game here and maybe save a night of like hotels and bus fares for a night? But unfortunately, it is what it is. And they came down and it just ends up in those power rankings. But to your point, Brandon, that top half is loaded.
It's going to be interesting. We've already got a comment hopping in here. Sam Buffington on Instagram says he's going for Lake City. He's not biased. He is an alum of Lake City High School up here in Coeur d'Alene. Robert McPherson says Middleton had the second easiest strength of schedule out of any team that made state. Not a shocker. They slid to 5. I got to be honest. I respectfully disagree. They played Skyview, the number 1 team in the 4A ranks and the number 3 team in the Max Preps rankings in the entire state. They went to a tournament in Arizona and played like 7 or 8 teams from Arizona and saw really good quality competition. They won like 7 of the 8 games they played down in Arizona. They played Bishop Kelly. They beat all of the teams they were supposed to in the SIC for the most part. So I don't see it. It just doesn't compute for me with Middleton. I would have to respectfully disagree. And I thought that because the way the SIC does their tournament, the top 2 seeds, which were Middleton and Eagle, automatically play each other in a best of 3 championship series. And they both automatically get to go to state. And so I thought no matter what happened, the strength of schedule component would still keep whoever it was that came out on top or second would still keep them high enough. But Middleton, I think you're right, Ryan, slid because they lost 2 of 3 to Eagle in that championship series. So now if I'm an SIC coach, I have to look at how the district tournament is formatted and go, should we do away with this championship series if it's going to penalize the team that took second place?
Yeah, because if they did take that second seed, now mind you, Owyhee with the second seed is not wrong. I don't disagree with that at all. But if Owyhee does get that second seed over Middleton, who did, I mean, Middleton lost to Owyhee 5-4 back in April 27th. That was April 27th. They went on, they beat Nampa, then they beat Eagle at the end of the regular season. Then they lost, the first game of that, of the SIC championship, then lost to 2. So they've lost 3 out of the last 5. I'm talking about Middleton now. And those were all close games other than that last 8-3 loss to Eagle for the last game. But Owyhee, on the other hand, if you want to talk about easy strength of schedule, that is Owyhee. Owyhee did not go out of state this year, did not play anybody from out of state. Eagle went to Arizona, also went out and played out of state and did really, really well. Now, ironically, it was funny. When I was in grad school, I lived right next to Cactus High School that Middleton destroyed during the middle of when they went to that tournament. And then also Thunderbird High School was down where I went. So I know those. And baseball in Arizona is phenomenal. So to your point, Brandon, yes, Middleton played a really strong strength of schedule. But again, Owyhee is a powerhouse, 2-time defending state champion. They're loaded top to bottom. What sticks out to me about Owyhee is their pitching. They are deep, deep, deep on their pitching staff.
Yeah, it's. I mean, all Owyhee has done in the history of their school is win the state baseball championship. This is their 3rd year of existence as a school, and they're going for their 3rd baseball championship under the legendary tutelage of Russ Wright, who is one of, if not the greatest Idaho baseball coaches we've had in the state. Robert says Max Preps has Middleton at 2nd easiest strength of schedule out of any team that made state. It's not a discussion. That's what the ranking system says. And yes, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with Max Preps. And I think that's where somebody with common sense would look and go, Middleton split with Rocky Mountain this year. Yes. But the first time they lost was 3-2 way back in March. And then they won the recent matchup 7-2. Middleton should probably be seated ahead of Rocky Mountain. I mean, that's just using the eye test, but let's talk about some of the other teams that are in this bracket. Let's start with Owyhee because they've got a couple of, and there's a lot of Division I guys in this tournament. So I'm really excited to see them play. But the top guy in terms of, the recruiting sites and the rankings and all of that is Ryder Cutlip. Fantastic outfielder, great athlete. He's going to go to Gonzaga to play for the Bulldogs. And so 6'2", just a leader at the plate for this Owyhee team. And he's no slouch on the mound either.
Yeah, and he's an athletic kid, and he does all kinds of stuff really, really well. And if you're looking next level coaches, if you talk to baseball coaches from anywhere, they're looking for athletes these days. In fact, I think they were saying at the Division I level, 75% of all their outfielders have been infielders at some time in their career, and that just goes to show. And then of the pitchers, I think the statistic is around 65% of the pitches have all been outfielders at some time in their career coming up through. And when you're playing the younger leagues, obviously you're going to be doing that. But it just goes to show that arm strength, that athleticism kind of goes through. And Cutlip for sure is the dude. I mean, he's a stud. He passes the eye test. You look at him, you're like, wow, that is a man child. He's out there on the field.
Yeah, to the point where this Hawaii team is so diverse and talented, they haven't had to use Cutlip much on the mound this year, which has been a nice luxury for them because they have so many standout pitchers. The top guy on the staff in terms of innings this year for Hawaii was the junior Caleb Doty. He only threw 30 innings. So this is a rested, healthy pitching staff. You had 7 different pitchers throw 10 or more innings this year. So in terms of who they're going to line up to throw in this tournament, it's really anybody's guess because they've had a lot of different contributors on the bump this year. That can make it tough to game plan for an opponent.
Well, yeah. And look, their season average, according to Max Preps, 1.79 ERA. 1.79 ERA. I mean, that is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how you stand up to that and look at it and say, hey, we're going to put some runs on the board. You just got to go be fundamental if you're going to play against it. But that gives them options, right? You can pitch deep. If somebody's isn't finding the zone, then you bring the next guy in. If that person's not finding the zone, you bring the next guy in. So, yeah, I mean, just a dynamic pitching staff for the Hawaii Storm.
Yep. And then a lot of these guys then turn around and bat as well. You know, Gage Hawes is a guy that immediately comes to mind. He's a great catcher, good pitcher. This Hawaii team is deep and talented for sure. Your boss and mine, Ryan, Paul Kingsbury says, Brandon, do not doubt our Max Preps overlords. That's funny.
I'm being completely honest. I was kind of nitpicking Max Preps. I've been nitpicking for all 3 state championships between football, basketball, and baseball, just based on some of the strength of schedules and the algorithm. But let's be honest, they probably know a little bit more than we do on the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, here's what I always say is we are in a much better spot than we used to be, which was we pull random ping pong balls out and that's how the bracket gets drawn up. Yeah. I still think there's a world where we can use Max Preps, but then maybe have some human element too, just for some common sense things to switch. So anyways,
selection committee.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Jeffrey Smith. Go ahead and sleep on Lake City. 3 senior pitchers that all pitched in the tourney last year as juniors. They are fresh. Yes, let's talk about Lake City. They're the team that got to the championship last year against Hawaii. They fell to the Storm in the title matchup. It was the debut season for Mike Criswell, who took over for longtime Lake City coach Paul Manzardo. By the way, shout out to his son, Kyle Manzardo, who finally got called up by the Cleveland Guardians. So there's a Lake City guy playing in the big leagues right now tonight as we speak. But Coach Criswell, what he did at Lake City in his first year last year, took them to the championship game and has them in a great position once again to get back to the title game.
Yeah, Lake City perennially puts out amazing athletes, and they do it with a lot of fundamentally sound ball, and they do it in football, they do it in basketball, they do it in women's basketball, they do it in everything, and they just have such a great coaching staff there. So I'm going to hand hats off to the coaching staff for getting their kids ready. That said, last year, I think they traveled 13 kids maybe to the state championship, maybe 14 tops, and they used all of them they could, and they went as deep as they could. This year, with all that experienced I guess they're seniors this year, I can see Lake City taking care of business and making a deep run. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Lake City Hawaii matchup in the semifinals, just due to the fact that they've been there, done that. You know, it'd be a repeat of last year's state championship, and I think they'd want to get a little bit of revenge. And they actually last year, and you were on the call, and they handled themselves really well right up until things got a little away from them, and that deep Hawaii staff, started laying it on them, and then Hawaii strung some hits together. But hey, not sleeping on Lake City, not at all. I think they're a good, really good baseball team.
Yeah, those 3 seniors they're going to turn to are Cooper Reese, 137 ERA. They've also got Charlie Dixon, 171 ERA, and then AJ Curry, the senior, at 185. 5. And then if they need to in a pinch, they can turn to Avery Cherry, the junior. He was the quarterback for Lake City's football team this year. He's a big thumper at the plate, though. Big, 6'4", just strong as an ox, too. So, yeah, all those juniors that pitched at state last year are back for Lake City this year. And so we will go ahead and see. But right away, Coeur d'Alene is in their way. They did beat the Vikings 4 out of 5 times this year. I think they took 3 of 4 in the regular season, and then they did win the district championship over the Vikings as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket again here. We talked about Middleton and Rocky Mountain a little bit. You know, Rocky did get to essentially the third place game at districts and fell to Hawaii. Let's talk about Eagle, the number 1 seed. We haven't even mentioned Eagle yet. There was this logjam at the top of the SIC this year where Hawaii, Eagle, and Middleton all finished 11-1 in conference play, and they all kind of beat up on each other. And Hawaii gets a lot of pub. Middleton gets a lot of pub. I feel like Eagle, as a number 1 seed, kind of like Skyview in the 4A, they're kind of coming in under the radar a little bit.
I would argue no. I'm in the Treasure Valley. Matter of fact, I'm sitting in Eagle right now. I'm at Gerber Park, if anybody knows that. I literally just got done with baseball practice for my son's club team from Eagle. I don't live in Eagle in particularly, but the club is here. I disagree. I actually think in around, if you talk to the people around here in the Valley, everybody pointed to Eagle. Eagle's big, strong, and athletic. The thing is Eagle's been building to this for probably about 6 years. So they're seniors this year, 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, however long it was, they've all been playing together for a really long time. And you have the California infusion of talent. I mean, Ian Duarte last year came in and he played. I mean, he's playing Division I football, Idaho State this year. Could have played at Division I baseball. He had people looking at him last year. Again, just showing some of that influx of California talent that comes in has really bolstered up this Eagle team. And they do things really well. Been to a few games this year. They played Bishop Kelly at Bishop Kelly. Now, mind you, it was freezing and it was raining and it was hailing and it was just terrible. But that said, I mean, they came out and just looked like an absolute dominant team. So, and they went out and they handled their business versus Hawaii. They ended up losing to Middleton, but then turned around, came back and beat them twice. I don't think anybody's sleeping on Eagle. They're my pick. They're my chic pick. I mean, say what it is. They're the number 1 seed. But I think too many good athletes. They've been building to this for too long. And I mean, I could go through the stats if you want me to, but I'm just telling you from a 30,000 foot perspective, absolutely, Eagles the team to beat.
Good. See, this is why I knew you would be perfect for this, Ryan, because I live in North Idaho, and so I'm not there boots on the ground like you are, and so just from a statewide perspective, I've seen a lot about Hawaii and Milton, not as much as Eagle, but if the locals are talking Eagle, then that's pretty good intel. and unlike Hawaii, who could throw any combination of 7 different guys, it's a big 3 for Eagle. We know who they're going to turn to. They're going to turn to a pair of seniors in Bryson Shea and Luke Scott. And then this sophomore, Caleb Zawodzki, who's really come on and been a phenomenal revelation for them on the mound this year. That is their big 3. The question always is, what order do you slot them in? Because if you save your bullet, you may never get to use it in the spot you want to. And that's what makes the state baseball tournament so much fun.
Well, and everybody has to play the same game, right? Everybody has to use your bullet. So do you use your bullet to get to the second round and see what happens? And if it's me, and from a coaching perspective, yes, I shoot my bullet the first round and I say, we're going to make it to the second round because anything can happen. Now, that said, I don't think there's a clear-cut bullet. They have a bunch of guys that could come in and throw in the mid-80s. And some of them are outfielders. And they can just get people to come in and give them an inning throwing 80s, throwing strikes. They can do that too. You talked about Zawodzki as the sophomore. I mean, 0.64 ERA, been absolutely dynamite, 5-1 on the season, and then Shea, he's 8-0 on the season with a 1.18 ERA, and he has in 10 appearances. So, I mean, he only had 2 no decisions on the season. My gosh, they only lost 3 total games, and they were all 3 to really good teams. One was from a team from Arizona at the championship of a tournament, and then the other 2 were to Middleton, who gets all the pub, So, again,
uh-oh. We lost your audio there, Ryan. We've got you on the screen, but no audio. Nope. Still nothing. Nope. All right. Well, Ryan figures that out. Still nothing. Nope. He said something nice about Middleton, and then his whole system went kaput. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Well, Ryan figures that out. Let's pull up the bracket again here and break it down. Because Eagle will play Mountain View, familiar opponent. The Mavericks had to scratch and claw and get their way in via a play-in game over Madison, but they've got a Division I player on their team as well in Will Grizzle, who I feel like has been there for like 5 years already in a 4-year career. He's been an impact guy from day one. He's going to play for the Oregon Ducks at the next level. And so when you look at Mountain View, kind of a sneaky opponent there as an 8 seed. And then Highland, the 7 seed. Highland always gets to state. The big question with Highland is can they advance? They spend a lot of time on that left side of the bracket. Can they find a way to upset the apple cart, as it were, and get to that right side? Christian Colonel is a great coach, does a great job with that Highland program. But it's been a while since the Rams have been into that semifinal round. Here's Robert McPherson. Zawadzki, Shea, Scott is the order. Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna see if that is what the order is. That's gonna be interesting. I like that from Robert McPherson. Okay, let's pull up our Ryan. Are you back? Can you try to say something? Oh no, still nothing. Okay, you look good though, so that's good. All right, let's take a look at our 5A players to watch. As Ryan gets reacclimated here, we picked one from each school. Again, just a jumping off point, not necessarily the end-all be-all list here, but here's what we've got. Owen Fields from Coeur d'Alene. He's their leader in pretty much every offensive category. Great base runner as well. Jack Swanstrom from Eagle. He's their leader at the plate. Good, strong kid. Can really drive the ball. Taylor Stringfellow from Highland is the Rams ace pitcher. They're probably going to turn to him, I would assume, in the tournament opener. Cooper Smith from Lake City leads the T-Wolves in every offensive category. Trayton Swigert from Middleton, a fantastic pitcher and hitter. Will Grizzle from Mountain View, we talked about, going to the University of Oregon. Ryder Cutlip from Hawaii, the Gonzaga Bulldog. And then Lincoln Mathis from Rocky Mountain as well. Ryan, I can hear your car beeping. You with us?
I'm with you.
Hey, there we go. Hey, take a look at this list of guys real quick and tell me one player that you are most excited to watch at the 5A state tournament.
Again, I'm going to lean towards Eagle on this one with Swanstrom, just due to the fact that I think the kid can ball out, and I think he's going to step up. He stepped up in the SIC tournament, but my second would be Cutlip. But again, I'm going to go with Swanstrom, giving some Eagle love because I'm going to hype them all day because I think they're the team.
Yeah, this tournament is loaded with Division I players. Cutlip to Gonzaga. We talked about Will Grizzle from Mountain View going to Oregon. Trayton Swigert from Middleton is going to play for the University of Portland, the Pilots. Rocky Mountain's got a big, tall lefty, Colby Chambers, who's committed to the University of Utah, the Utes. So he'll be a pitcher we'll have to watch, but really their top pitcher is Lincoln Mathis in terms of the stats and the ERA and things of that nature. Cooper Reese from Lake City High School is going to go to New Mexico State University. He's their top pitcher as well. And so just Division I talent up and down this. And that's what makes this 5A tournament, I think, so interesting to watch because it's almost like the All-Star game. The stars will come out and every team's got a guy that you look at and go, yeah, he could play at the highest level in college.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I want to talk a little bit about Eastern Idaho just briefly. One of the things that and again, I was born in Eastern Idaho, so I can say this, but the snow doesn't clear for a really long time. So their season doesn't get ramped up for a while. They'll go play south in St. George, Utah, and some other places. So don't sleep on Highland in the sense that they're probably just getting into their prime in terms of reps and whatever you want to call it and playing. So I think Highland cannot be overlooked at this point. But again, Lake City and Coeur d'Alene fall under the same thing. Lots of snow, a little cooler stays. Whereas in the Valley, we've been playing baseball for a long time. And we've been getting
Well, there's Ryan went out again. That's all right. You there, Ryan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My wife keeps calling. Tell her to stop calling me.
She's probably wondering where you are. Okay. You were saying nice things about Highland and how they aren't able to get the full run up like the teams in the Banana Belt over there in the Boise area get to.
Yeah, exactly. And so when it's the same thing. You don't get all the reps in early on, and so you don't really hit your prime until the end of the season. And I think that's exactly what's happening, because Highland is getting better and stronger as you go on. If you look early on in the season, they don't do as well, and then if they're playing some of those tough teams. But I was going to say Coeur d'Alene and Lake City kind of fall under the same thing, right? Where there a lot of that snow and some of those reps, and unless you have some sort of indoor facility, it just does not replicate being able to take those reps on the field. But again, that's why some of these teams from Eastern Idaho and North Idaho now are just hitting their stride.
Hey, nothing like the present to get momentum going. That is for sure. A couple of comments here before we wrap up. Jeffrey says, is the SIC going to show up for Thursday night? 3 versus 6 is going to be fun. That Lake City Coeur d'Alene matchup. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be all SIC at the top, so you're guaranteed at least one. Cameron says Highland didn't play a home game until 2 weeks ago. They lost 6 games all on the road, 4 by a single run. And Highland got a brand new field at their high school this year, Westmark Field. It is beautiful, and they had a great celebration with all Highland alumni that came back, and it was a really big deal for that Rams program for sure. And speaking of Eagle, the number 1 team and the favorite coming in off the field, says Eagle has been getting big and strong at off the field for the past couple of seasons. So, hey, that sounds like a perfect sponsor for our state tournament broadcasts. So here, I'm going to put out the bat signal. We are providing these broadcasts free. You get to tune in and watch your favorite team, your favorite player at no cost. The money that it takes to produce these events, though, it costs us money to put these broadcasts on. And so what we do at IdahoSports.com, none of it is possible without all of our great local sponsors from every corner of the state and representing every high school. So if you're a business like Off the Field and you want to help continue this great tradition of IdahoSports.com providing live and free broadcasts, please reach out to Logan at IdahoSports.com and sign up to be a sponsor, because we can't do it without all of our great local business sponsors. You are the lifeblood of what we do here at IdahoSports.com. So again, that's Logan at IdahoSports.com. All right, Ryan, it's going to be a great 5A state tournament. I can't wait to be down there with you in person.
Good times. Yeah, it'll be a blast. And the weather's going to be amazing. Last year, it was hot. This year, going to be just right for baseball.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So big thanks to everybody that tuned in tonight to our IdahoSports.com state baseball tournament preview special. We did 1A all the way to 5A. If you missed one of our earlier classification breakdowns, it's all good. You can go back and watch this anytime you want on replay at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram account, as well as on our site at IdahoSports.com. But for everybody that's here watching live, if you could hit the like button and the subscribe button, and then share this when we're all said and done. That will help everybody who wants to come watch it on replay find it a little easier amongst all of the social media stuff that pops up on your screen. So, all right, for Ryan Luke and for Lucas Gebhardt and Logan Green and Paul Kingsbury and Gary Jones, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in to the 2024 Idaho High School State Baseball Tournament Preview Special. First pitches begin on Wednesday for the 1A tournament, Thursday for all the others. And again, every single pitch live and free right here on IdahoSports.com. Enjoy the competitions, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you at the ballpark on IdahoSports.com.